It's been 2 years since Gionee's iconic Elife E7 came out, and that housed one of the best processors of its time, the Snapdragon 800. From that time to here, it took a while for them to look back and make some improvements, and finally here we are. This is GK from TechPP.com, and this is the detailed review of Gionee Elife E8. Let's get started. So as you can see, this is a tall phone, and this comes at 6 inches display, and it's got a lot of metallic elements to it. But let's talk about the weight and the thickness. This comes at a thickness of 9.6 mm, but it has this curved nature of its profile, and similar to the ones that we've seen in the Motorola phones, this allows for very handy placement in one's palm, especially for the tall phone. This also weighs close to 210 grams, which is quite hefty, but that's a tall phone. So overall, the build quality is good, given to the fact that it has this nice metallic rim all around the phone, and the back, however, is having a metallic finish to it, but it's made of plastic. But we have the buttons here, we have the dedicated camera button, we have the power button and the volume rockers, all of which are made of very good quality metal and have good clicky tactile feedback. So a good job on that. And on the top, we have the 3.5 mm jack, and this placement comes in the middle, which is really handy. We've seen a lot of phones either shunt this hole to the right or to the left, but the center placement is what we've felt is very comfortable to the user, especially when the earphones are plugged in. And on the other side, there's nothing, and on the bottom we have the USB port along with the microphone, and on the back we have the massive 24 megapixel camera with the dual LED tone flash, and also the fingerprint scanner, all of this which we'll come to in a bit, and also the speaker grill. And the back is removable, and like I just mentioned, it's made of plastic. It's just got that metallic finish to it. And under the hood is the Mediatek Helio X10 processor, which is an octa-core processor clocked at 2 GHz, accompanied by 3 gigs of RAM and an onboard memory of 64 GB that can be expanded up to 128 GB via the micro SD slot, and also the dual SIM ability for the micro SIMs that can take 4G LTE SIMs. The battery capacity is 3500 mAh, and that is non-removable. So all of this makes a good design for Gionee E8, and it also has this tiny curves on the edges that ensure that it doesn't poke, because using this phone in one hand is going to be quite impossible most of the times, but when you're using it, it may not, the edges would not end up poking your hands. So onto the front, we also have the 8 megapixel camera and the other sensors, and we have the 3 capacitive buttons here that are not backlit. This is a real bummer, because overall the phone is very stylish, a lot of metallic elements to it, but they're not backlit. But that's what Gionee is going for here. So this is a 6-inch MO LED screen that packs in as much as 490 ppi, and one good thing about this is that it has an option where you can change the tone of the screen. So if we go to the display here, we have something called as the LCD effect, and this is where, very similar to the ones that we've seen in the Samsung phones, you can change the tone to be cool, warm or neutral. And since this is an AMOLED display, the colors come vibrant, and you can change the settings to what pleases you. So this is a good option. So all of this will house the Amigo UI 3.1, which is built off Android Lollipop, and this has tons and tons of customizations, tons of preloaded apps, and a lot of transitions. And the good thing here is all these transitions are butter smooth. We found no stutters or lags or app crashes in all the time that we used for the last 10 days or so. So let's look at some of the useful apps that Amigo UI brings in. So there is a system manager. So this is very typical of many Android skins that we are seeing here, where you can clean the cache, you can have an app manager, manage the power, and monitor the traffic over data and Wi-Fi, and also economic mode. And we also have something called as a Chameleon. So this is another app that talks to the customization aspect. So what this does is it activates the camera and takes in 2 colors, and then you can change the theme. So let's see how this comes out. So it took the background color and it took a couple of tones on that and changed the entire thing. So this is very useful, and you can see there's a comet that just passed by. So these are all cool effects that you can play if you get bored with your display. Anywhere that you're going, you don't need to change the wallpapers or change the crazy customizations. Just pick few colors and the phone is going to do the rest. This also has the Amigo paper, where it has tons and tons of wallpapers, and again, if you want, you can cherry pick the ones that you need. And Gionee has added a lot of good wallpapers here, and searching is also easy with category, local and things like that. We also have the theme park, which is essentially the collection of themes that Gionee has brought in, and it has tons of cool themes here, and takes a while to load, but there are tons and tons of themes, and changing them is really easy. Let's try a theme here. It's not downloaded, so you need to download the theme and then apply it, and it's really good. So overall, if you see the lot of updates that need to be made, it's trying to bring in a lot of data, and that's the reason why you see a delay in things being painted up the screen. And we also have the cool transitions that you're seeing here. It also has this very cool weather app, something that we've also seen in the MIUI, but this takes it to a complete new level where it tries to sketch out the scenery depending on the location that you're in. It also plays an occasional music. So all this are cool effects that enhances the overall user experience. The one thing that we have found here that is really awkward is the drawer for the app, is the entry to the app drawer. The option is placed towards the right here. It's usually in the center, or you don't have an app drawer. So they're trying to bridge the gap, or they're trying to bridge the notion of the OS without an app drawer and with app drawer by placing this here. And it does take a while, and many a times if you're not careful, you're going to hit the camera app button, but that's what it is. So this is how the app drawer looks, very neatly placed. Of course, it's making good use of the real estate and trying to place the icons apart. And there's also a cool option where you can sort it according to alphabets and sort it also to many frequently visited apps. And it also has this cool search option as well. So all of these are nice effects. There are also other cool things, talking about cool effects that you can do with the UI. And some of them would be there are other apps also in the form of File Explorer. There are tons of other apps. It also has default apps like the Spider-Man games. This phone also comes with the WhatsApp and Facebook preloaded. That's one of the frequently used apps. It also has the UC browser. It may not be used by many, but that's what they have. So overall, the Amigo UI has come a long way. We had seen this with a lot of app crashes and forced closes and all that, but not anymore. Performs good. And here is another cool effect that we want to talk about. On the lock screen, they've chosen a very neat set of high resolution wallpapers, and it also has this neat phrase that comes up and talks a little bit about the place or the situation or something they want to depict. Cool lines there, and you can also swipe back and forth to change the lock screen there. So another cool effect there. So when you have a phone with a big screen, multimedia and gaming is always on the cards. So how does the E8 perform on the gaming? We played a lot of games ranging from Candy Crush to Asphalt 8 to Riptide and so on. Most of the times the gaming was good, but there was an occasional stutter here and there, and that was very inconsistent. This is probably due to the fact that Gionee is trying to play around with the throttling so that they're trying to do something there to optimize their OS and bring in better gaming experience. Many a times when the game just started, there was a stutter, and for the next 1 hour there was no stutters or frame drops at all. At times it was somewhere in the middle of the game or towards the end, but this is just an occasional event that happens rather than something that keeps happening over a period of time. Overall, the gaming experience is good. The loudspeaker also on the back is very good. but somewhere at times the loudest volume does bring in that distortion, but overall it's good. Though the placement is at the back, not all your fingers may cover, because it's a wide phone that we have here, and there's no problem as such as the, if you're worried about the sound being muffled or something of that sort, it doesn't happen. In terms of overheating or warming up or things like that, we did not find any overheating issues or any instances where we wanted to drop the phone off. But the metallic rim that we have here, that does get heated up, and it's very uncomfortable to hold, because more often than not you're in the landscape mode and most of the fingers are in contact with the frame, and that is where you get really uncomfortable holding it, and you might have to pause a bit and then resume your gaming. So it's not overheating, but still it does make you feel uncomfortable. So that's what the gaming is. And the gaming does drain the battery very fast. 1 hour of gaming drained out at least 30 to 35% of the battery. It's probably due to the fact that it's got the AMOLED screen, and we also did game at the brightest the brightest level possible, and also the volume was set to high, but it does drain faster. And talking about battery, this has got a very decent battery life. You can get anywhere between 3.5 to 4 hours of screen on time. So you see, this is another problem that you might have. Bringing up the toggle menu, it's not the conventional one that you see in other phones. This is from the bottom, like you've seen in the iOS. So more often than not, you'll end up launching an app rather than successfully bringing the toggle menu. So back to the battery performance. 3.5 to 4 hours of screen on time is what you can expect, and that should be decent enough given the fact that it's got a 6-inch screen to it. And that is when you actually game heavily, but it should take you through the day if you're somewhere between the normal user or the average user doing 1 hour of calls or whole couple of hours of browsing and WhatsApp and social media, and syncing couple of accounts on Gmail or Outlook related activities. It should get you through the day, like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So that's what it is. No big complaints there in the battery department. Coming to the key selling proposition of the phone, rather one of the key selling propositions of the phone, the fingerprint scanner. So this is not the usual fingerprint scanner that we've seen, which is kind of laid on a very flat surface. It's got a slight shallow depth to it, and that is really good. Why this is good is because when you place the finger, it neatly just falls into that depth. More often than not, we've seen the other fingerprint scanners which are kind of flat or very, very shallow, and the finger struggles to kind of program itself to where the position should be done. But here it's really good. More often than not, it does work very fast. It's fast, and 99% of the time it just works. It's also good because it directly unlocks the phone and turns the screen on. So no complaints there on the fingerprint scanner. Coming to the camera, this has got the 24 megapixel camera on the back and 8 megapixel camera on the front. And let's talk about the camera app itself. So the app is very neatly placed, no clutters or anything of that sort, and it's also feature rich. The icons here are also very colorful and has a range of options: face beauty, the night mode, panorama, professional, where you can try to change the ISO and exposure, the normal mode, and HDR and things like that. So overall, it's a very resourceful camera, feature rich camera, and it has this setting options, the flash and things like that laid to the left. So let's take a look at the camera samples that we have here and talk about the performance. The focusing, in fact, is really fast, and the processing is also very fast. It takes really decent pictures in the indoors. Even when you zoom it, there are a lot of details and you don't see a lot of graininess seeping in. So indoor shots come good. But handling exposure, this is where the camera does not have its strength. So if you look at this picture, it looks as if it was a foggy day. It wasn't actually. And here also you can see it was a bright sunny day, but still there's some kind of a hue effect, very, very, very feeble halo effect coming here, which which tells us that the exposure is not being handled well. But this again is inconsistent. It is capable of taking some stunning shots, like the one that you see here. Though there was a lot of light in the background, it did manage to take a good shot. And here if you see the same similar leaf being taken with a good handling of the exposure, if you will. Again, the dynamic range and the depth of field is handled well in this one. So if you see this one again, the exposure has gone for a toss. Here again, when the light is low and there are lights, artificial lights coming up, that is again where it sort of struggles with the exposure, but overall it should be good. This is again the normal mode versus the HDR mode, where it tries to brighten up, and the HDR mode in fact is very snappy, not like the ones that we've seen in other cameras where the HDR mode takes 2 to 3 seconds. It's very snappy. So overall the camera seems to do a decent job, especially in indoors and low light, barring the inconsistency in handling the exposures. Videos also come good, and panoramic mode also, the stitching is really good. So we'll post few samples, and we'll leave the link in the description below for you to take a look at the videos and various other pictures that we've clicked. The front shooter also does a decent job, and it's good enough to take some good pictures for your social media. So overall the camera seems to be one that is above average, nothing to compete with the likes of Galaxy S6 or the LG G4, but it's there. So to sum it up, what is the E8 good at and what is the E8 bad at? Let's talk about the good first. The display. This is obviously one of the best features of the phone. Big, vibrant AMOLED display, and always it's gonna give you a very rich experience when you're out there, watching movies or playing games and things like that. Customizations. There are tons of customizations and many different creative ways in which you can customize your phone. It literally enhances your experience in trying to tell the phone to do the things that you want it to do. It has a very decent battery life considering that it's a 6-inch phone. The fingerprint scanner works really good most of the times, and this also has something called as the extreme power saving mode, and this is where we saw some really good battery life coming up. Coming to the bad, this could be too big for many. If you can recollect, the E7 was a 5.5-inch screen phone, and that itself was a tad bigger for many people. But suddenly the successor is being bumped up and may not be to the liking of many people. The camera exposure handling at times is really inconsistent, and you might have to click 3 or 4 pictures to get the correct one for your liking. There's no overheating issues, but the frame does get heated up to an extent which is really uncomforting for the hands, and that could be one of the tiny nitpicks and gripes that we've picked up. The speaker grill at times, I know I just mentioned while gaming that it might not cover the complete speaker portion and muffle the noise, but when you place it on the surface, given to the fact that it's got this curve at the back, the majority portion of the speaker will be on the ground, and that might prevent the complete sound from coming out. The gaming is inconsistent, like I just mentioned while we reviewed the gaming. The stutters can occur anytime, and that's really a bad thing. And average signal reception, though when it really made the call correctly, the call clarity was very good, but when compared to the other phones, the signal reception is a tad weak. So how does the E8 stack up against the competition with all the good and bad that we just spoke? We feel at $34,999, it's a tad higher when you compare this with Lenovo VibeShot, which is also a camera-centric phone and has a decent build, but it's priced much lesser than this one. You can also compare this with the Nexus 6P or the 6. The Nexus P comes with a fingerprint scanner, but priced slightly higher. The 6 is an older phone but does not come with a fingerprint scanner. So at the end of the day, it depends on the kind of experience that you're looking for. Overall, this seems to be a decent package. If only the price was less, could have been an unbeatable phone for the features that it offers. So do let us know what you think about the phone and its features and what decisions you make, and do hit the like button and subscribe for more interesting updates. Until the next one, this is GK from TechPP.com signing off. Bye bye now.